Alright, so someone brilliant pointed out at one point that there's only two kinds of videos that social justice meatballs put out. They're either spouting shit, or they're doing damage control. Which one is this one going to be?
Is PC culture destroying freedom of speech? Nope.
Both? Spouting bullshit and damage control? What a twist! Roll the intro.
Son of a bitch! God likes me! I am the best! Fuck everybody else! Suck on my dick! I'm perfect! I am the best! Fuck everybody else! God likes me!
From YouTube comments to presidential candidates, it seems a lot of people think freedom of speech is under attack.
Well, you know, Francesca, that might just have something to do with the countless people screaming out and telling everyone, you can't say that, or that, or that. You can only say this, and that. And why is it we're being told that we can't say certain things? Because it might hurt somebody's feelings. Yeah, you know what freedom of speech is, Francesca? It's when you're allowed, despite how offensive it might be, to say whatever you want and suffer the consequences of what you say. But despite the consequences, you still had the freedom to say it.
And who, might I ask, is to blame? The god PC culture.
Yes, exactly. The only people in the world who are telling us you can't say that phrase or those words because those are offensive to somebody. The only people in the world who are telling people to shut up because we don't like what you have to say. The PC culture is to blame for any and all attacks on freedom of speech.
If you've ever called out racism, sexism, ableism, or any other oppressive-ism, you've probably been accused of being too PC.
You see, I don't personally believe that political correctness is inherently good. But whether or not it is, isn't the question here, right? So it is actually possible to have too much of a good thing, regardless of whether or not you believe that something is good. You can be too sensitive to something. You can have too much food and die from overeating. You can have too much water and die from overhydration. So even if political correctness were inherently a good thing on all fronts, period, you can still have too much of it. I understand that that's a foreign concept to some people, but you just gotta keep an open mind about these things.
PC is, of course, short for politically correct. Political correctness is avoiding words or behaviors that exclude, marginalize, or insult groups of people who are socially disadvantaged or discriminated against.
So, in literal terms, by a literal definition, political correctness is censoring oneself. Got it. So, to be politically correct, you have to restrict yourself from freedom of speech. Thus, I don't have to say it. You've said it. To practice political correctness is to restrict one's own freedom of speech. We're only like a minute into this, we're not even a minute into this video, and you've already proven that political correctness is limiting freedom of speech.
Basically, treating people with respect. Now, if you ask me, that doesn't sound like a bad thing.
Nobody has ever said that treating people with respect is a bad thing. What is a bad thing is when we are expected and told that we can only treat people with respect. We do not have the freedom to do what we wish. Yes, the thing that the individual may want may be offensive, but they should have the freedom to do it. They should have the freedom to choose whether or not they're going to be respectful. They should have the freedom to do that. What PC culture is attempting to do is to take away our freedom to do those things. I, personally, do not agree with the ideas of, say, the Ku Klux Klan. However, I will defend to the death their right to espouse their beliefs. Because above my own personal comfort, I value their freedom to say what they want to say. Or, okay, maybe Maybe that's an extreme example, going straight for the KKK. Let me try something else. All right, so I do not personally believe in God, and I do not read the Quran. I do not hold these beliefs. I am, however, completely okay with a Muslim's freedom to say that heathens deserve to die and will burn in hell and will be punished by Allah. As long as they're not going and killing somebody, it's good. It's fine. All right, you say what you're gonna say, I don't have to give a shit. While it personally offends me as an atheist that anyone would be able to be allowed to say that atheists deserve to die based on their non-belief in God, I am still okay with someone's right to say it. Does that make any sense?
But a recent poll by Fairleigh Dickinson University found that 68% of Americans and 81% of Republicans agreed that a big problem this country has is being politically correct. Even 62% of Democrats polled agreed that being PC was getting out of hand.
Yeah, you see, when we start enforcing the idea that people should not have freedom of speech, people start doing crazy things. Here's an article from February 14th, right? And this article will actually... Here. Breaking news. 1 killed, 3 others shot at Freedom of Speech Forum in Denmark after Muslim outcry against blasphemy. Denmark is suffering its own Charlie Hebdo attack after gunfire rang out at a Freedom of Speech Forum, injuring 3 policemen. It's reported that the men yelled something in Arabic, and there had been previous threats made against a cartoonist at the forum who had insulted Muhammad. Yeah, it's unfortunate that I'm having to reference Islam twice now, but let's keep this going, right? So basically, a man named Lars Vilks made a caricature of Muhammad, right? And these Muslims came in and started shooting people because he did this. Now, I will concede it is absolutely disrespectful of the people who believe in Islam for a cartoonist to make a caricature of their holy idol, right? But as disrespectful as it is, that is their right as a human being. The right to say whatever they want and do whatever they wish, as long as it does not directly affect the freedoms of another human being. Now, if you could please tell me whose freedoms were infringed upon when a man draws a cartoon. Don't worry, I'll give you a minute. Anything? No? Alright, here's a hint. Nobody's freedoms are infringed upon when somebody says or draws a thing. Now, Islam, or Muslim societies at large, have actually had this thing, right? It's called anti-blasphemy laws. So basically, anti-blasphemy laws mean if you say anything against Islam as a religion, if you say anything un-Quranic, you are subject to court, you are subject to jail, and you may even be subject to execution. Execution is actually pretty likely in anti-blasphemy laws, as far as I'm to understand. But I'm not going to do a ton of research on this one. To be honest, this can survive off the cuff. You can do some research on your own. Just look up blasphemy law on Wikipedia. It tells you right there, blasphemy as an offense under Sharia can be punished by retaliatory penalties up to and including hanging. Hanging. You said something against my religion, we're going to hang you for it. Basically, anti-blasphemy law is the pinnacle of political correctness. You have said something that offends us, and now we shall retaliate by killing you. Better be careful of the things you say, because if you offend us, we can kill you.
For these folks, political correctness is synonymous with weakness or being overly sensitive. Similar to the new term social justice warrior, calling someone PC is a way to derail and dismiss conversations about inequality.
And calling someone a racist, sexist bigot isn't? You're telling me that no social justice warrior anywhere has ever said to anyone, oh, you're an ableist, oh, you're a sexist, oh, you're racist, just as a way to excuse not talking to that person anymore. Just as a way to excuse the conversation as, I don't need to deal with this. Is that what you're trying to tell me? That has never happened? Or are you just full of shit?
Okay, PC police, you're just offended by everything.
Okay, racist, sexist, bigot, you disagree with me and we're never going to agree on anything, so I'm just going to cut the conversation right here and never talk to you. It's the same exact thing. And for some reason, it's only acceptable when people who are on the side of social justice say it.
The term PC is almost always used as an insult. While it's been around for a while, it gained popularity in the 80s when it caught on with conservatives, not liberals.
Oh yeah, and the terms sexist, racist, and bigot are totally used as compliments. Yeah, these labels, they're all meant to insult your opponent. All of these things are specifically used to derail conversations and bypass dialogue. Why can't we just do away with these kinds of labels and actually have some dialogue? Why can't we just fucking talk about this shit? I'll tell you why. It's because you don't like the idea that you could possibly be wrong. And the idea is just so profound to you that you can't comprehend the concept. I really hate to instigate Godwin's law, but you know who else thought that they were in the right? You want to know another culture that was politically correct for the time? A bunch of people who were rising up from oppression came out of a war. They were dying of poor. Like they couldn't buy a loaf of bread with an entire shopping cart full of cash. These people were so oppressed in their time, and they came out and they decided, hey, we're not going to take it anymore. It was this wonderful, absolutely fantastic group of people called the National Socialists. You know, the Workers' Party of Germany. It's interesting because they too had a policy about censoring their opposition. In fact, they went so far as to kill people who disagreed with them. Oh, and don't think that they weren't proud too. They were so proud of the work they were doing. They thought they were making a better Germany. They thought they were making a better tomorrow for everyone, you know?
So why is being PC used as an insult?
Why is the term Nazi used as an insult? I mean, they were only trying to liberate their country. I really hope the sarcasm is coming through there. And the irony.
And what, if anything, does it have to do with free speech? Here's the thing. It's not just about hurt feelings. It's about calling out oppressive power structures, and that's where the misunderstanding comes in.
The misunderstanding also comes in when you decide that it's all of one group of people who are the problem. Absolutely, every cisgendered, heterosexual white man is the reason that someone else is oppressed, in every instance ever. Even if that white dude happens to be homeless and have no cash in his pocket, he's still oppressing everyone. He still is absolutely at the top of the food chain. The problem here is that all of these arbitrary things go before whether or not the person has power or money. You see, if someone like me were in charge of your movement, it would have nothing to do with race or gender or the sexuality someone happens to be. I would not be generalizing people based solely on factors that they were born with. Period. No matter who they were. The only thing that would ever factor in is how much money the person has, what class they are, and how much they are giving back to society. At looking at all this other arbitrary bullshit, you overlook the only thing that actually matters. You overlook money. People with money who contribute nothing back into society are the only source of oppression. And I'll tell you what, They aren't limited by gender or race. People with too much money and not enough generosity come from all walks of life.
What's perceived as being too sensitive is usually someone speaking out against lazy, offensive language that doesn't usually get challenged. That's because the group of people that those words hurt historically haven't had the opportunities to have their voices heard.
Oh yeah, and telling people, your ancestors got to speak and mine didn't, so you have to shut up and let me speak. That is absolutely going to solve all of the problems ever. So there's actually a concept here, right? When you exclude somebody from something, that person generally starts to hold a distaste for whatever it is you're a part of, right? So let's say you try to go to a club. You want to get into this club, right? But no matter how many times you go to the front door, no matter how many people you woo, no matter how many people you talk to and connections you make, the bouncer won't open up the door for you. Nothing you can ever do will get you into this club, right? They are excluding you from the club. And you find out that the reason they're not letting you in is because your ancestors had a club that their ancestors could not join. Wouldn't that just piss you off? So, the actual solution to the exclusion of our ancestors isn't to create more exclusion in the present, it's to create a club that literally anyone can join regardless of their ancestors. Because when you start creating exclusion in new places, all you're doing is ensuring that people are going to hate you in the future.
And the people who call that being too PC are often in privileged positions and don't want to or haven't had to think about what they're saying, or the consequences that come with it.
The whole bit about people not wanting to hear how they're wrong goes both ways, just so you know. Again, there's that whole bit about if a social justice mateBall is ever confronted about how they're wrong on something, they'll just call you a bigot and be done with it. Oh, you don't agree with feminism, you don't agree with this or that, you're just a bigot, I'm not dealing with you. It's not at all possible that these social movements do have people doing the wrong things or saying the wrong shit. And when the media tells them they're right, and when all of the people around them tell them they're right, they have the privilege of being able to think that they are right. They don't ever have to think about the concept or idea that their ideas might be flawed. But just like Christianity, just because everyone is saying you're right, just because there's a lot of people agreeing with you, does not mean that you're right. It just means that you're a part of a majority society that agrees with you.
You can't take away my freedom of speech just because you're offended. Well, yeah. In America, freedom of speech simply means the government cannot prohibit you from expressing yourself.
Yeah, and a lot of people in the social justice movements don't seem to agree with that notion. They would like the government to be able to punish you for saying the wrong thing. In some cases, they may even take it into their own hands to punish you for saying the wrong thing. All depends on who you're talking to.
It's why you can criticize Obama without being thrown in jail. But on an interpersonal level, freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences.
You're absolutely right, and you know what? I am absolutely prepared for the consequences of referring to a few cases of Muslims being violent a few minutes ago. That's absolutely going to bite me in the ass. It seems like anytime you ever accuse any religion of being violent, they like to get up in arms about it, but there's a few that are particularly militant about it, which is surprising for a religion of peace.
Technically, no subject on Earth is off limits. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, and that's good. And it also seems like most social justice warriors do not like that you can say whatever you want, and would like you to never be able to say whatever you want. That is the issue that people are having.
But in turn, people are allowed to respond however they want.
Unless it infringes upon the rights of another human being. Again, that kind of action is reserved to Muslim states.
The fact that you can comment means you're not being censored. If you tell a crappy sexist joke and someone says, "Hey, that was a crappy sexist joke, that's freedom of speech.
Absolutely. If a joke is crappy, it's crappy. Doesn't matter if it's sexist or not. You know, there's actually a lot of good sexist jokes. I don't mean to say that sexism is good, by the way. I only mean to say that there are some jokes that happen to be sexist that are funny. And, in fact, a lot of human comedy stems from being offended and transcending offensiveness. Being able to look past the offensiveness of a statement and see the humor in it.
And if you post some racist bullshit on Facebook and your boss decides she doesn't want to employ people who spew racist bullshit on Facebook, you still have freedom of speech. And you're free to take that racist bullshit somewhere else. America.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful thing. Absolutely a beautiful thing. I agree with that 100%. However, it doesn't seem like that's enough for you guys. It seems like it's the prerogative of the social justice movements that somebody who says something racist then have to go and never be capable of pursuing happiness again. It's not enough that that person just cannot hold the job that they had. You have to ensure that they will never hold a job ever again. It's not enough that the person got fired from their job in this hypothetical. No, social justice would rather see them incapable of ever holding a job in the future ever again. It seems like it's the prerogative of the social justice movements that this person be shamed publicly for everyone everywhere to see. In fact, I remember the Young Turks were actually talking about this kind of thing. This movement of people had started taking racist Facebook posts and putting them on billboards somewhere. They erased the faces and the names of the people so people wouldn't know who was saying these things. And the guy who was talking about it said that he secretly wished they hadn't fucking blurred out the names and the faces. Why? Because it's not enough that the guy now has to live with that thing that he said forever. It's not enough. That man now needs to have his name and face plastered everywhere so everyone knows that he said it. It's not enough when these people just suffer the consequences. You want their lives to be ruined forever.
PC culture, treating others with respect, social justice warriors, whatever you call it, isn't prohibiting anyone's freedom of speech. It's mainly about people standing up for themselves and asking to be spoken to and spoken about in a respectful way.
And that's absolutely great. That's fantastic. But you aren't just asking. You're demanding that it be the only way people be allowed to interact with each other. And so help you, if anyone ever disagrees with you, you want to make sure that that person doesn't have agency in public ever again. You want to ensure that anyone who doesn't agree with you never feels peaceful in their life, ever. You sound like a fucking religious organization. You know? You sinned, therefore I wish eternal damnation upon you. Does that not sound ridiculous?
In fact, political correctness is expanding free speech.
Say what now?
We're adding words to the dictionary every year in an effort to promote more inclusive and respectful speech. Last year alone, the OED added microaggressions, mansplain, and a whole host of gender terms like cisgender, agender, and gender fluid to the dictionary. That seems like giving more speech to more people, not less.
So, we have decided that you living here doesn't suit us very well. We have decided that instead of living here, we have made some camps for you over there. You are not allowed to talk to the outside world. You will live in the camps. And if we find you talking to the outside world, you will be strictly punished for your transgressions. Just make sure that you stay in the camps and everything will be alright, we promise. It is like a summer camp. Yeah, it is a great place. We have we have exercise activities. We have you'll love it there. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just so you know, again, that's satire. Well, maybe it's satire. I don't know the official word. The short version is, you cannot take away something from someone, then give them something else as a replacement, and say you are expanding their freedoms. Hey, sorry, you can't sit at the front of the bus anymore. You're not part of our designated VIPs, but you can still sit at the back of the bus. We have reserved that spot for you. Do you understand? Replacing a liberty with a different liberty isn't expanding them, it's replacing them. It's controlling them. You're not expanding free speech, you're attempting to curtail it to your own agendas. So yes, in short, PC culture is a threat to free speech, as long as it continues down the road that it is on.
So have you ever been accused of being too PC? Or maybe you've been thrown in jail for saying the N-word?
Yeah, actually, I've got a couple interesting stories about that exact kind of thing, but I'm going to go ahead and save that for something else, another video. Anyways, it appears we've run out of content to respond to, and I couldn't be more relieved. So, thanks for tuning in to Unplugged, and I'll see you next time. Bye!